Hi everyone, I'm Natalia. Welcome to my channel. Today I want to share with you the healing, destructive, and fragmenting psychological properties of tarot and how you can work in those spheres and I have here tarot and oracle decks, some that I picked for this video to share with you. Some, in my opinion, they're going to be instrumental depending on the type of work you're doing. So what I mean by healing, destructive, and fragmented properties of tarot? Well, without a doubt, we know that tarot is a very, very amazing self-help tool, amazing psychological tool, amazing divinatory tool, amazing magical tool. The properties of what this is can go on and on and on and on. Obviously, without a doubt, tarot, first and foremost, has very strong healing properties. And one of the reasons why it has very strong healing properties is because we work in with images, at least in my opinion. Images and our relationship to images have a very rich and powerful capacity to create a bridge, not only between our conscious and subconscious, but a bridge between that which is wounded and that which needs to be healed. And for that reason, when we're looking at the images, right, what happens is two things get activated. One, our conscious mind gets activated and we start free associating and projecting onto the images what we see. And another thing that gets activated is our unconscious mind. Now, we don't know what unconscious is getting activated because that may come up and it may bubble up later down the road. But in that instance, definitely something is getting activated. For that reason, images are very powerful because images are nutrients and the food for our unconscious, for our psyche. This is why dream material, dream content is the crux of psychoanalysis, of any psychodynamic therapy, because you're bringing in imagery from your unconscious, directly from your unconscious, to psychoanalyze, to analyze, to decipher as a doorway, a window, if you will, into your inner self. And tarot has capacity to be that doorway into your inner self through the images. Lone Melody Cat has a really good class on those tarot. I'm going to try to remember to link it below. And if I don't, you guys can go to the interview I did with Lone Melody Cat, and just underneath there's a link to his classes. It's like $25 or $35 class, I think. It's very inexpensive. And in the class, one of the things that he says is that Lady Frida Harris, at least because he's referring to Thoth, but this is really reference to any other imagery. Lady Frida Harris did such an amazing job with color scales and with sacred geometry and with a lot of other esoteric symbolism in those tarots that even if a novice is looking, for example, at this card, and they don't know what the heck it means or what it is, their unconsciousness will still extrapolate from it. Their unconscious is still going to take from it. It's still going to have a response, a reaction, some kind of interchange with this card, because this card is still going to communicate to the unconscious whether we know it or not. And this is, in my opinion, as a psychologist, how images work. And this is why tarot is such an amazing, amazing self-help tool and a psychological tool, because you have this relationship of consciously projecting and pre-associating onto the images, and then you have this relationship of unconsciously taking in nutrients that only later will unfold and later will manifest consciously, and then you can make sense of what really happened and how things unfolded. So without a doubt, you all know tarot has incredible healing properties, and a lot of you do use it to heal. Now, we can heal with tarot differently. Some of us can use tarot to heal inner child. Some of us use tarot to heal traumas. Some of us heal wounds. We all have wounds, by the way. Sorry, I wanted bread so badly today, and I seldom want bread. I had so much bread for breakfast, it was amazing. So now I'm thirsty because I had so much bread. But going back to the healing has such not healing, but we can heal different ways. Like I said, inner child work. You can also heal doing the shadow work is a great healing work. You can heal so many things. You can heal your relationship to yourself, your relationship to your creativity, your relationship to your partner, your relationship to your mother, your relationship to your father. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. There's so many ways that you can use tarot to heal. And this is one of the obviously most very powerful things about tarot. So when we're talking about, before I start sharing with you this different aspects of healing and cards that I would recommend just based on my opinion, this is just some of the suggestions and they may or may not resonate with you. Everything I share is like sharing food for thought for all of you who like to use tarot in such a way, so that way maybe you can see and use tarot in a newer way that you never thought before. So before I want to say this is, as a psychologist, I have an opinion, this is just my opinion, that tarot is not a good tool to use for healing a very deep, very painful trauma wounds. And I will explain it when I get to the fragmentation portion, and I will explain why. But again, this is just my opinion. You may be watching it, that you may have an opinion that you do use tarot in such a way and it is helpful to you, and that's fantastic. Again, this is just my opinion coming from my experience as a clinician. So tarot, like I said, it can be used multiple ways. I broke it down here just to share for the sake of today's video, not to make it too long, into 3 healing properties. Healing your sensuality, sexuality, and I'll explain what I mean by that. Healing your relationship to your body, and healing your spiritual inner self. So when we're talking about healing our, and by the way, you can obviously use any visual tarot deck will do the job for any of this, but in my opinion, there's some visual tarot decks that lend themselves even more in the domain of this type of healing, and they activate, I would say, even that much more than, let's say, a standard Rider-Waite-Smith, even those, or standard Marseille deck. So a more creative renditions, I think, would be a little bit more on par. So the first one that I want to share with you, if you are having what I mean healing relationship with our body, I think, especially speaking as a woman, it is incredible. It's very amazing, I would say, and surreal how many societal ideas and concepts about what it is for me to be me in this world that I have interjected inside of myself, and that I continue to detoxify day in and day out about what it is to be a woman, what it means to be a woman, what is the role of the woman, what is the expression of my femininity and my womanness out to be. And especially for me that works in a gender field and knows so much about the construction of gender and the construction of gender and how it is not anchored to sex, it can be very frustrating. It can be very, well, let's say it angers me a lot of times when I start reading a lot of historical material, a lot of feminist literature. I just recently came across a passage that says in I can't recall which century, but not too far ago in France, it was decriminalized to rape women who were peasants or who were of a lower class. In other words, men were allowed to rape those women and not be criminalized for it. So yeah, the history of the at least I'm speaking for my my identification as a woman trails a long way and continues still predominate today. So it fuels me, obviously, and because we are human beings who are going through this life experience, and we're interjecting conscious relationships to ourselves. By conscious, I mean when I go out there, when I go to the supermarket or store, or when I talk to anybody else, how people relate to me. And then also unconsciously, I'm interjecting my psyche. Imagine how your psyche interjecting, looking at the images without you even realizing it into raw. Now imagine how your psyche is interjecting images on billboards, magazine, books, film, you name it, anything that you visually come across from, your unconsciousness is interjecting it. When you're going to the store and you're shopping for clothes, whatever you see on display, you're interjecting those messages. All of this is inner interjection, and it does a fucking number on our psyche, and then not in the best way. So this is where tarot becomes really essential as healing. And because of all of that interjections, it really messes up our relationship with our body, like physical. I'm talking about physical body, how we feel about our bodies, how we feel about being tall, short, heavier, slimmer, how we feel about, see, I'm even looking for the language that is not socially inundated, from fat and skinny to bigger and smaller. Even that fails to really define it. So we're talking about all of these images, I mean, all of these concepts of what it is to be in a body and what a body is out to be and look. And it's, like I said, it will distort your relationship. You will start inevitably at some point having unhealthy relationship with your body. And if you have been through any kind of also physical illnesses, for me, I had cancer when I was 16, so I have a prosthetic leg and it has limitations. That in of itself is going to bring up other things and other ideas of defectiveness that is going to distort your relationship to your body. This is why my work with trans individuals is really interesting to me, because I can see how even them feeling very incongruent with their body is bringing up all this distorted relationship with their bodies, and just so many other things, and it makes it very painful existence. So if we were to heal the body, if you were to look at the physical aspects of your body, if you already feel like you have wounds in your body, or if you don't have any wounds, or you think you don't have any wounds, trust me, you do. We all do. And I'm really not trying to be an absolute say we're all wounded, but we sort of are. Like, it's, look at the world today. How can we not be wounded? How can we not be wounded working individuals? And the goal is, of course, to heal. And the goal is, of course, to be empowered through our healing process versus becoming victims and versus becoming passive wanderers of this life. So if you think you don't have any wounds, you can still use the tarot tools to see if you have any wounds about your body. And the first deck for that I think is going to be really good is Jessica Sinjuk, Story Medicine Tarot. She has now 4 editions of it. This is number 1, first edition that I would recommend for the healing, because it is has very strong grounding properties. I think when we want to heal our body, okay, let me get the we out of the language. When I think about healing the body, I think about grounding energies. And when I think about grounding energies, I think about decks that have grounding imagery. Why I love this deck so much is that in this deck, I can see real women bodies. Oh my God, let me get to some women bodies for you guys, because you're probably looking at this deck and you're like, what? Where's the real one? I see droopy boobs. Yes, I see pubic hair. What happened to pubic hair? What happened to pubic hair? Why? Why are women so eager to completely get rid of their pubic hair? I see curves. I see folds. I see all of the things which are natural and normal in a woman that is evolving through this life, a woman that bears life, a woman that carries life. I see all of it, and it's different. It's almost as if this deck has different evolution of a woman. Jessica is the primary in this deck. I mean, look at this. What woman doesn't know when she bends over like this? This is where the boobies go. Yep, this is where they're not perky and standing up and bend over like this. It ain't no shame about it. None at all. So this deck is wonderful. It also has all the depictions, wonderful for healing that body vessel. And you know, we all have to define what healthy is for us in regards to our physical body. And we all have to define what a healthy looks like. And what healthy for you is going to be different than what healthy for me. So look at Lizzo, for example, right? People say that Lizzo is normalizing what it's like to be obese and overweight, and that's not healthy. I say she's not trying to normalize what is, she's not trying to normalize it. She's not saying that being obese is good for your health, not even close. She's saying that no matter where you are, you have to still love and respect and honor your body, no matter where you are. Even if you are in a healthy state, you still have love and respect your body while you're taking steps to work towards your health yourself. That's a very different concept. Not to mention, has anybody actually seen her on stage, how she's able to sing and do all of those moves and everything and be able to breathe and do the vocals? That's a fucking healthy woman. So that's deck number 1. Another deck is going to be the second Jessica Sinjuk deck, which is Story Medicine Tarot. You can get these decks on, they're available on Game Crafter. This is another one. Now, what I love about this one now is that it incorporates medicine of animals. Great card. It incorporates medicine of all of those animal spirits and animals, and it just becomes really, really powerful. And elements of earth and elements of ecosystem and marine life, as you can see. So this would be the other one that I would highly recommend for healing the body. Yeah, I love Jessica so much. I love her work. I went to a women's retreat, my first ever women's retreat, and oh my God. Can you talk about going to women's retreat with no other than such a healing power as her? It was fantastic. The next deck that I think is also good to healing body is Tierra Mace Ritual Tarot. This is a very, very well-balanced deck, and it's very grounding. And Racine, Oval Moon 513. I finally remembered Racine's channel name, Racine Oval Moon 513. Talked about how this is definitely a goddess deck, has goddess energy to it, and I totally agree. It has a very strong feminine, in my opinion, voice, and has very strong healing properties when you're healing your body. So this would be another deck that I recommend. It is a Ritual Tarot. Okay. An oracle that I recommend healing and working with your body would be Energy Archeology Oracle. I think this is still also being sold. It has, I don't have a book with me, but it has a very, very good booklet. This one literally focuses on physicality, on the body. This is, I think, is an excellent oracle, especially if you having chronic pain, if you're having any kind of physical pains, physical ailments, and even if not, this is just really, this is a great, first of all, this is just such a unique deck, oracle deck, very interesting, very fascinating, has a voice that is unique of its own, and this is the oracle that will work really, really well if you're working on healing your body. So this is what I recommend, healing your body. Now, you know what, guys, I don't have that many oracle and tarot decks, so I just kind of grabbed just a few, because again, I don't want to make this video too long, but comment below, share what you would use for the healing properties in terms of tarot. Maybe you don't have this in your toolbox. And again, everything I'm showing, obviously you don't need to get it. I'm just giving you examples. You probably have decks similar to this, what I'm showing in your tarot collection. And if not, honestly, any tarot deck holder. The next healing properties of the tarot that I want to discuss is healing our sensuality and sexuality. What do I mean by sexuality, sensuality? Because I feel when we say sexuality, a lot of people go to sex. Sexiness, sex looking, sexy looking, flirty. No, this is, at least this is not how I see it. I look at our sexuality and sensuality as really being rooted, very, very strongly rooted and very strongly grounded in your I. And when I say I don't mean I in an egocentric or selfish way. I want, I need, but in a very powerful way. I will, I can, and I do. So it's, to me, it's the sexuality as, I think of sexual energy as a strong libidinal energy of the will that runs all the way from our grounding up through our spine and all the way up out of our ego. It's that which empowers and drives us, wills us forward. It's our inner fire. So I don't think about it as sex, although sex and sex magic is a powerful way to use it. I look at the sensual sexual energy again as that will. So I guess what I'm talking about here is really healing your will, healing your agency, healing your I, knowing that your I is standing very strongly rooted within yourself. I'll never forget in grad school, in undergrad school, actually, when I took marriage family therapy class, David Schnartz, who wrote a lot on couples and marriage, he talked about that in relationship, couples need to be able to walk, each one, on their side of a street. You need to be over here. You need to be over here. But yet the goal of a healthy marriage is that you're both walking together toward your future. Once in a while, you will paths and you'll find yourself on the same street. Or once in a while, you need to come over to your partner's street and vice versa. But all in all, you're standing in your own individualistic path, but you just so happen you're doing it together towards your main goal. And that's what the crux of a healthy marriage is about, versus enmeshed walking on one street. And I think that's such a beautiful way of defining having your eye and standing on your street and knowing what your path, in other words, looks like. And also respecting and honoring your partner's street and their path, and get two of you walking toward together. So how do we heal that essential eyes, that wheel, when we work in this tarot? The first deck that I would recommend is Marielle Tarot. Now, you may be wondering why Marielle. Marielle is the most, the only deck that I know that is so rich with mythological symbolism. Not only is it so rich with mythological symbolism, but because of its depths of myth, it takes us into our own mythical landscape of the self. Our inner selves is its own terrain, its own landscape, its own storyline. And we need to be able to get in touch, and we need to be able to recognize our own heroine's journey within that myth in order to know what my I is. This is a very powerful deck for that work. And this is an absolutely the most beautiful deck I have ever seen. So I think Marielle is definitely is there to activate that sense of I. Very powerful. Oh, just look at that. Gorgeous. And best market, you can get on Amazon if you don't have it. And like I said, you don't need it. There's other decks that you can work with that are similar to that. Another deck, well, I don't know if there's any other decks that are similar to Marielle because of this. There's so much myth in it. Another one is Abysmall Tarot. I had a copy of this and I gifted it to a friend, and then I repurchased it sometime earlier this year to have back in my collection because there's something so dreamy about this deck. This deck is definitely there to help heal that power. Now we're talking about sexual, but not against sexy. We're talking about that ownership of your own libidinal energy, ownership of your own internal I. This is very, very dreamy and very, well, it has a very, well, it's definitely a very watery deck, but it has a very, it's almost like, this is what it is. It's almost like water and fire. I would call this deck as a temperance card. It has a capacity to reconcile the opposites and makes the opposites work together. So this would be definitely fire and water. I mean, look at that. Just absolutely beautiful. 6 of Pentacles. Gorgeous. So this would be Abysmall Tarot by Cheryl, I believe Cheryl Colbert, I believe so. Now, 2 oracle decks when we're healing our I, our sensuality, our will. The first one is going to be, and of course, I don't remember the name. This creator has also created Tazama, I think it's Tazama African Tarot. And this is, what is this called? Love, something love. Oh my God, if anybody watching can know what it is, please put it in the comment section. I forgot what the name of it. This is, you can get it on Amazon. It is a splurge in terms of price, but this is so beautiful. The reason why it's so powerful in healing the sensual is because it has, the deck, in my opinion, makes you own your I in completely unapologetic, no apologies. Wait, this is a deck where, look how gorgeous that is. That is so beautiful, so beautiful. This is a deck that says, I'm going to own who I am, and I'm going to do it unapologetically, and I'm going to make no excuses about it. And I love that part about it. I also absolutely love this deck because this is the only deck that I have that at least came into my view. Look at this loyalty. Oh my God. And she's leading the way. This is the only deck that I have that has also beautiful flags of my love community. There's one for pride. Let me try to find it for you. So this is definitely about, I'm gonna own myself unapologetically. No apologies, none. Voila. I'm gonna ride my unicorn any way I want and own it. If I want to ride my unicorn naked, I will ride it naked. So this is, it's called Love, something Love Oracle. Beautiful, very beautiful production for the price. So I would recommend this one for healing that I have a final oracle for healings that and this might not surprise anybody. This is the Isis Oracle, this is packet edition. There's also a full edition. Isis, if you saw my video on how I work with Isis, Kali, and Wild Quantum, you will know that to me, Isis is a very recognizing your power of your own inner magician, recognizing your own inner resourcefulness, stepping into that power. So you know how I said you eyes, I will, I do, and I can. This encompasses all of this. I will, I do, and I can. So this is very instrumental in healing your own will and also owning yourself unapologetically. So this would be what I would recommend for healing your I'm going to gather decks without making them fall apart here. Moving your will, your sensual, sexual, your I. Now let's move on to the final healings that I want to share with you that you can do. This is healing your spirituality. Now, what do I mean by that? Our spiritual selves can very quickly become subject to erosion due to, again, societal constructs and ideas of what spirituality ought to be. I want to be very clear, I'm not talking about religion here. To me, spirituality and faith are two different things from religion, although they can be interchangeable, but to me they're different. I'm talking about your spiritual sense, your connection to your bigger self. In psychology, we use small self to define just like your conscious self, and a bigger S self to denote your inner self, your spiritual self, your soulful self. So sometimes we lose a relationship with the soulful self. Sometimes we lose a relationship and connection to that. And it becomes important to heal it. So what do we do? What can we use to heal that inner self? The first tarot deck that I want to share with you is going to be Margaret Peterson tarot deck. I etched mine in copper because copper to me is very conductive metal, and this is a very conductive tarot deck. This one you can also get on Amazon. This is American version that recently, I don't know how long ago they did. But Margaret Peterson deck is a powerhouse. First of all, it has one of the best tarot guidebooks ever, in my opinion, on majors. So this is a very powerful deck to heal your inner spirituality, to heal your inner spiritual relationships to yourself. It is very poetic, which is exactly what our soul needs. Our soul needs poetry. Our soul needs this type of emotive, very unrestricted, free-flowing images to free associate on. And this deck definitely lets itself to it. So I would highly recommend Margaret Peterson. If you feel like your sense of spirituality to self is eroded, or if you feel like you feel disconnected, or if you feel like you feel that, we're getting lots of fire cards here, or if you feel that you have lost touch with that inner self, with that inner voice, this is a very, very good deck for that particular purpose. And I love it. I've been using it lately, and it has been just amazing. So Margaret Peterson, tarot for healing that. And again, comment, share, please. I'd love to hear and to see below, what would you use for healing your body, healing your sensuality, sexuality, for healing your spirituality. What would you use from your collection? If you don't have any of those decks, what would you pull on? You can also do VR if you would like to talk about it out loud. That would be great too. Another Jessica Zinchuk's deck. This is her latest Seaweed Sisters. It's very different from the other one she did. This is definitely, in my opinion, the one that heals the spiritual self, connects us to our inner self, connects us to the divine feminine, connects us to the goddess earth, connects us to the greatest mother. This is just such a healing deck. Has very strong properties in it. It has also so much of Jessica's energy. If you ever seen Jessica, she has such an energy to hold everything in her presence, and this deck definitely holds so much in its presence. So I would definitely recommend this one. Not to mention, this deck is flowing with the color green, which for me is green, to me, is the color of spirituality, of growth. And not only spiritual growth, but of our growth and our growth toward our evolving self, leveling up, showing up, becoming bigger and better as individuals. So this would be definitely a good deck to help you work through healing the spiritual side. Now I have 3 oracle decks to show you for healing your spiritual sense self. The first one is, if you feel lost and you feel like you cannot find your way, the first one is going to be the Melissa Lucia Oracle of Initiation. This is a great deck to help you find where on a path of your spiritual self you're at. Where do you find yourself? What's happening to you right now? Which god or goddess or divinity you energies are embodying right now? This is a great deck. Think about this as a compass, your spiritual compass. You're spiritually lost, and this is a great compass to help you find where you're at in terms of your spiritual path. The Oracle of Initiations would be the first one. The next one that I would recommend is Spirit Cards Oracle. You can get it on Amazon. And this one is great as it connects you to elementals, connects you also to animals. It connects you to a lot of things. It is a great way of connecting to some of the energies that are around us, and to interject and pull and draw those energies inwards in order to spiritually align yourself with where you need to go. I don't know if a lot of people, I don't really see a lot of reviews or talk about this deck. It's a really good deck. It's an incredible deck for spiritual work. So I would highly recommend it. I first saw this a while ago on Kelly from Peterson Story channel, because I think she said one of her favorite oracle decks, and I can see why it's very good. So this would be the spirit cards for that spiritual work. And the last one for the spiritual work, they both come together. You can buy either one or two. This is indie decks. The Vista Oracle and Forest of Precious Twigs by Trisha Murray. And you will see quickly why it is such a great deck for spiritual work. And she has writing on the back of the cards. You see what I mean? This is such a beautiful way of diving deep into your own terrains. Oh, it is so good. I'm thinking this would be a great pairing with Oracle of Initiation. Oh, and this would be a great pairing with Margaret Peterson. So they're both so dreamy and so poetic. So they're both similar in terms of their, and I think I probably have them mixed up in terms of which one belongs to which box. I don't even know if I'm showing you the Vista or Precious Twigs, but lots of people have reviews of this deck. You see full cards, but this is a great deck for spiritual reconnection with yourself. Okay, so to the final healing properties of tarot before we get to destructive properties of tarot and decks for destruction. Oh no, we're done with healing properties. I'm sorry, guys. Now we'll talk about the destructive. So what do I mean when I say tarot can be a destructive tool? So just like a tarot can heal, when I say destructive, destruction, in my opinion, is absolutely healing, because it always leads to new growth. It always leads to new rebirth of yourself. It always leads to some new discoveries about yourself. So when I say destructive properties of tarot, what I really mean is when tarot is able to destruct, think about Tower card, destruct, break away paradigms, thought forms, beliefs, notions, constructs, societal interjected concepts and ideas, when it's able to destruct all of that garbage so that something new and healthy and better can come out of it. Not all of the decks, I think, have the power of destructive capacities. Of course, all of the very essential systems, those Rider-Waite-Smith and Marseille will do that. But when I say not all, I mean not all renditions have power to destructive powers, because some are just very, very soft and neutral. And I'm not saying you need a dark deck for destructive powers, but you need something that will give unconscious psyche more of a nudge versus more of a soft cuddle. So the first deck that has destructive powers for me, I have two of them. This is my other one. Look at this, how I etched it in gold, and I had it sitting in a container, and it's over time it turned to green, almost, you know how copper has the way to turn green. Anyway, those will be the first deck that has destructive powers. Like I said, obviously, if you don't have those, Rider-Waite-Smith, Marseille will do the same thing. For me, it is Thoth, because this is my primary deck. This is my absolute favorite deck from any other deck I ever owned. This is the only deck that I work with. If I ever do readings for my friends and family, I will always use only this deck. So this has obviously, without it up, and a lot of you know, destructive powers, because it is so clear, it is so direct, it is so slam, doesn't hide anything. It is so truthful, it is so honest, it is so unapologetically tells you how it can be so judgmental, it can be so brutal and cruel at times too. And it does all of that for your greater good. So those would be my absolute first. The other one deck that has the power to destruct is Tarot of the Crone. I apologize if I think this is, I'm not sure. I think this might be out of print. I'm surprised because it was back in print. If it is out of print, and if it is somewhere out there for, like, usually they go out of print and then they're out there for atrociously crazy prices. Again, I'm not saying you need this deck for destructive properties of tarot to destruct paradigms and ideas and interjection concepts. Any one of the tarot decks you have will most likely do. But this is another one. If you do have, this has a very strong powers of to destruct. It has very almost primal symbolic choice of symbols and representations, and I think it's on purpose. Look at this. Oh, God. It has the properties of capacities, internal capacities to destruct those things. It's very instinctual. It kind of gets really deep into your psyche, into some of the elementals way of thinking. Almost this deck almost makes me think pre-verbal. There's a pre-verbal ways of mentalizing and understanding. So this would be Tarot of the Crone. Also great. Why, you might be thinking, why would I want to use tarot deck for to work destructively? Well, first of all, if you're going to be doing shadow work, in my opinion, you're going to be destructing, because you're going to be bringing something out of there, and then you're going to be looking at what you brought up, and then you're going to integrating that, and that is an act of destruction. Secondly, if you're going to be, if you're just doing growth, and you want to grow and level up as an individual, as a soul, as a spirit, you want to do destructive. Again, I'm not using destructive defined in a way of to destroy you. No, I'm talking about in a way of destruct ego concepts. Now, there's sometimes people still say we need to annihilate the ego, we need to kill ego. As a psychologist, to me, that is the most ridiculous and the most dangerous notion I've ever heard. In my opinion, if the ego is fully annihilated and destroyed, the person then is without the ego. That means they are in a psychotic state. That's a very dangerous state to be in. So you don't want to, in my opinion, annihilate ego, but you do want to annihilate parts of the ego that are not healthy, so that the healthy ones can come out. So it's almost like peeling an onion. You're really peeling when I say annihilating parts of the ego, you're peeling parts of the onion that no longer serve you. And you're allowing a new skin, new growth of the onion to come through until you need to peel something else away. So we're really peeling that away to allow for something new to grow. And in this case, when I say destructive, I'm peeling away paradigms, again, beliefs and ideas and constructs that no longer serve me, that I have been told to believe in, but are no longer true. So let me show you. I have 3 oracle decks to show for destructive, 2 more tarot decks to show for destructive work. This is Serpent of Ikons tarot deck. It's majors only, and it has additional cards in it. You can buy it on Abysmall Publishing. It comes with a nice, very thick book. This deck is really good for destructive powers. Look at this world card, which is drawn as Lilith. This is very unique deck. Oh, look at this. Temperance. They see this shows traditional attributes of the cards, and then this is how could it rearrange, the creators rearranged it. This is very occultist, I would say, deck. This deck is aimed to help operant or sorcerer. They use the term operant. I love the term operant. To dive deeper into their path, to dive deeper where they are on their path, and to be honest to their path. And I think this is such an amazing destructive deck because it will help you on an internal plane to really step where you need to step and to really shed those layers of your onion, your inner onion, that no longer serves you, that no longer works for you. So this is, and if you guys want, I may do an in-depth review of this deck and how it reads, the same way I did Joseph McCarthy's deck, because it's such a unique deck. I don't think there's really virtually anybody talking about it on tarot. So this is a very powerful one for destructive properties. It will not only destroy, break, annihilate parts of ego that you are attached to, but it will annihilate the collective concept of ego. So this is the Serpent Ikons deck. Next, final tarot deck for destruction. It is Tarot of the Vampires. I trimmed mine. People who know me know how much I love square edges. If anybody watches and likes Racing Overmoon 513, I'm so proud I know her name, her channel name. I remember now. It's now stuck in, will never now make a mistake. If anybody is a fan of her content, you all know that everybody has been influenced by her love for the deck. And when you edge, some of the cards are a little thinner, so when you fold it like that, as you fold it up, been influenced by the tarot deck. This is my 3rd time buying the tarot deck. 3rd time. Now, there's only one other tarot deck, and that's Wild Unknown, that I bought 3 times. This is another one. Decks sometimes come back into my collection like boomerangs, but this is the only 2 that come back to me. This is 3rd time. 3rd time. Please tell me 3rd time will be the charm. The reason why it's 3rd time is because, as you all know, the book is amazing. I love this art. I always love this art. Vampire theme, just not my thing. I'm not into, don't get it. Just vampires, but the 3rd time when it came around, the layer of onion attached to whatever it is, the way I see a vampire peeled away, and I see it simply for its lore and for its storyline of thirst and lust for the everlasting and for the blood, the flowing forms of the blood. I mean, there's metaphors within metaphors that I'm like, how the fuck did I not see it sooner, that I see now? And the vampires don't bother me anymore because it's really not about vampires, in my opinion, for me. This is a lore, a symbolism, and a very, very rich symbolism and lore that Ian Daniels uses. So this is another really good deck for destructive work, to destruct these concepts, to destruct these ideas, to destruct these ego-basis pieces, to peel away the layers. So, Tarot of the Vampires. Now, 3 oracle decks for destructive work. First one is going to be, what is the name of it? This is embarrassing when I do review talking about decks and share with you all decks, and I'm not giving credits and I'm not piling up names here. The Witch's Garden Oracle, something like that. Like I said, I so apologize to the creators of any of the tarot decks and oracle decks. Not good. So this is yeah, like evil or witches. This is an oracle deck by Christopher Patrick and something with M. Her name starts with M. Okay. Please excuse my idiocy not remembering creators' names. I use this deck with reversals. This is full of baneful plants. I have read lots of books on baneful plants. There's a lot of fantastic books on baneful plants that are really, really fascinating. This is a very great destructive oracle deck. It will really help you unveil the untruths and see and go deep down inside to really look at the truth. This is great. And this one, this is one paired with Oracle of Vampires is really good option, or this one paired with Serpent of Ikons. 2 more. Isis and Kali, not even, it's the same energy, really. Not to me, not at all. Kali Pocket Edition, IH mine. So Kali to me is always a goddess of destruction. She comes in, she destroys precisely what needs to be destroyed. She turns around, she looks at you and she says, "You're welcome." And she walks away. And you're left there doing the damage control in the midst of debris. And when you're doing damage control, you're in chaos, and you're freaking out, and you're shitting yourself because you're wondering, how will I ever put my life back together? How will I ever rebuild the tower I built? And before you know it, you brick by brick, you start, and then you have your aha moments, and then you realize, oh, this was actually a good thing for me, like several years down the line. And then, before you know it, you're again at the top of a goddamn tower, and guess what? The cycle has to be repeated again. Here she comes again, you're welcome, and we start all over again. This is how I see that, Kali. So this is a really good one for, and in my opinion, you know when she's coming. You will feel her. I do feel her. Final one for destruction work. Oh, I have a box for this one. I can tell you who creators are. Tantric, and I'm shaking it like confetti is going to fall out of it. Tantric Dakini Oracle. Big book. This is Anna Asher Lady turned me on this. I'm so glad she did. You pair this one with the Aleister Crowley Zos deck, and you have a gemmed powerhouse. They love to dance and to work together. This one with those, they love each other. Oh, this is so good. This is so destructive in a spiritual sense, in a psychic sense, in any sense you can imagine about the collage, as Anna called it, is kitschy. I don't know what kitschy is, but it is kitschy to me. It is, oh, it's good. It's really good. At first I thought, what the heck? Where the creators, were they on drugs? No, these people were not on drugs. This is what happens when people unleash their ultimate creativity, especially psychic creativity, when they allow themselves to be free when they create, and when they're not too worried or too concerned how they might come across to others. So this is, if you don't have it, when I had my newsletter, one of the people who were subscribed to my newsletter told me that this is a must-have oracle. And another person told me this is a must-have oracle. And Anna was telling me this is a must-have oracle. And finally I said, okay, fine, I'll go with the kitschy. And kitschy has paid up. So this would be my destructive work of psychological work with tarot. This would be my destructive decks and oracle. Now, to finish up, I also said there's healing, destructive, and fragmenting powers, psychological powers of tarot. What do I mean by fragmenting? And this is where my personal opinion that working with tarot to heal very deep trauma is not good, especially if you have trauma that is of a prolonged nature, meaning traumas have their own duration and their own severity, and it's very subjective in terms of severity. It's subjective sense of sense. Duration is, however, is objective reality of our relationship to trauma. Witnessing a car accident is a shorter duration of trauma versus being a victim of sexual abuse for a prolonged period of time. Do you see what I mean? Now, your subjective severity may be your own in regards to perceptions of the trauma, but there's going to be still objective perception of at least time frame, how long your psyche had to be in a contact and a relationship to traumatic experiences. In my opinion, traumas that have a prolonged period of time, that are persistent and ongoing, and the longer they have gone on, the bigger the wounds are. The more painful and that much harder it is to heal the type of trauma. So people who have traumas of that nature, that have been traumas that went on for a long period of time, and the wounds are very deep and very big, in my opinion, using tarot to work with cards is not, it's not a good idea. I will tell you why. Because working with tarot in such a way, what will happen is that you psychically opening up yourself, and you opening yourself up to look and dive deep into that wound. And if you are doing it by yourself, again, I'm not saying it can be done by itself. It is, again, my opinion. When you're opening it up, what can happen is the intensity and the coagulated energies of the trauma that have been kept there have now condensed to such extent that they have become very dense packets of energy are very, very supercharged and strong. When they come up, and if you're doing this work by yourself with tarot cards, they can fragment you. When you're doing destructive work, if you're not processing what you're destructing, if you're not giving enough time to process it, it will also fragment you. What do I mean by fragmenting you? Fragmenting is when you are feeling that your ego, think about ego as one whole, and now think about your ego as blasted into parts. There's no unified, conscious, almost conscious apparatus that is keeping you consciously connected to the current realities. And I'm not talking about feeling like you completely lost your ego. This is different than completely annihilating your ego and going into psychosis that I talked about earlier. But this is more about your ego is fragmented, and you almost have no footing. You feel incredibly unstable. You feel very ungrounded. Psychologically, you feel all over the place. You feel like no matter what you gravitate to, be it work or house chores or any other things, you feel like you really can't do it. You feel like you can't concentrate, you can't focus. You feel very unstable. You feel very tense. There's tension there. You feel frustrated. That's what I mean by fragmentation, where ego is now fragmented. It needs to come together, but it's fragmented, and you're like scattered. Scattered is a good way to say it. You're scattered all over the place. Parts of yourself are blasted, and you just feel very, very unstable. This is why doing severe trauma work is, in my opinion, not good with tarot, because that can happen. When it happens in a container of psychotherapy, and I know psychotherapy is a luxury today, but when it happens in a container of psychotherapy, what happens is that the therapist is there to create an anchor for your fragmented ego. And then in the end of a session, the therapist is able to psychically help you come together. So when you leave therapy, you're not floating all over the place. You feel more grounded and more cohesive, even though you just unveil this deep drama. Without the therapist, it's really hard to do. I'm not saying it can be done. This is not something I would touch in terms of cards. This type of feeling can also happen when you're doing destructive work, shadow work, other type of work. It can fragment you. And one of the reasons I can fragment when you're doing that type of work is because you're not processing what happened. You're not allowing it to be incorporated, to integrate it. You're moving too fast. You're like, okay, the tower moment, the destruction has happened. Okay, what's next? What's next? You're not sitting with the feelings that came out of it. You're not really doing adequate damage control, if you will. So what do I recommend when you feel fragmented? And if you, let's say you're like, well, I was doing this healing work. I didn't know I had such trauma, but it came up and fragmented me. What the hell do I do? I can't afford therapy. I recommend, if you're feeling fragmented, again, that's the feeling when you feel that you're all over the place, you're scattered, you can't really, you're not grounded, you're almost like you're floating, dissociation comes to mind. God, my community knows dissociation so well because they dissociate it when they feel severe dysphoria. But what I recommend is get away from the cards. You don't want any more psychic visual material because there's no central core apparatus to anchor every experience around. And as a result, you just continue to fragmenting yourself if you're going to feed yourself cards and to continue to do tarot and oracle work. I recommend, if you're feeling fragmented, first and foremost, ground yourself. What works for you in terms of grounding? Is it going out for a walk? For me, grounding is getting on my bike and cycling. Physical exercise that drops me into my body. I can feel my heartbeat racing. I can feel myself sweating. I can feel my pores open up. That's a visceral experience that grounds me immediately. And by grounding me, then it enables my ego to then condense and come back into itself. It can be a walk. It can be going and sitting outside, walking barefoot, hugging a tree. It can be meditation. It can be feeling sensory experiences. Any of those things that drop you into your body and drop you into the contact and in touch with the senses, with the sensory things around you are going to help. If you're doing some work with tarot that is destructive and you feel fragmented, ground yourself first, then come back and see what is not processed before you're going into something else. Try to process it first before going any further. If you're doing a work, healing work, and a big wound opened up and you feel fragmented and you grounded yourself, can you see a therapist to help you heal that wound? If you absolutely cannot, then, I suppose I would say just proceed with, slow, constantly incorporating grounding, taking small chunks, journaling, writing, let yourself really process it, let yourself really move through these feelings and emotions. Because, in all truth, it's not like therapy existed for forever. There were people when we're doing all this work, human beings have done all this work without a therapist. So it's not like it's absolute must. It's just that's something that's accessible to us. But I suppose now that I'm talking about taking it very, very slowly would be a way to go. But that's something to think about. That's what I mean by fragmenting powers of tarot, and they can definitely do fragmentation. I'm not saying that fragmentation is dangerous or it's like, oh my God, I'm going crazy here, I'm losing touch with reality. No, it just means that it's uncomfortable state to be in, and it's a state where you can't find yourself place, you're scared and you're irritable as a result, you're annoyed, it's very challenging for you. It's not a good state to be in, and it's good to come back and to ground yourself. So having said that, that's what I would recommend. These are 3 primary properties that I see with tarot: healing, destructive, fragmenting. Psychologically speaking, I'm sure there's so many other more. Feel free to do VR if you want to talk about which healing decks you use or which destructive decks you use. Feel free to just comment below and let me know which decks you use, how do you see them. Hopefully this was helpful and gave you some food for thought in terms of how to use these tools and other ways of working with tarot and images. And I wish you all the best, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.